And there's a certain degree of entitlement. I think people who are, in the religious groups like that, it's not the type of Christianity that I practice, but I think that they're entitled, and that entitlement comes from a supremacy, a white supremacy. And they think that this country was built for them, that it is a Christian country, when actually we left England because we wanted religious freedom. It's religious freedom, but only if you're a Christian and only if you're a white male, pretty much. And so, yeah, I absolutely 100%, but it's an intimidation tactic. And, I said, I don't understand how I've become the face of it when I was a journalist. I do understand that I'm the biggest name there. And I'm also, as I was on with my producers this morning, you and Kylie talk all the time. My producers were saying, I said, how did I become the face of this? And my producer said, Don, you're a gay black man in America.
It has nothing to do with your race. It has nothing to do with your sexuality, Don. It's the fact that you have over 1 million subscribers on YouTube. It's the fact that you have a huge global following, thanks in part to your former career at CNN. And you chose to broadcast this attack on a Christian church in St. Paul live to the entire world. And you weren't just there reporting on the ground. I mean, this is really similar to what happened when the FBI raided Roger Stone's home and CNN just so happened to be there in the morning. You clearly were invited to this because you are an ally, and you did cross that line several times. You weren't just reporting on it, because journalists, well, they just state the facts, they cover what's happening on the ground, but you were offering your commentary, you were debating people actually in the church, and some would even argue that you were instigating and trying to antagonize many of the people who were just simply trying to worship. Now, unfortunately for Don Lemon, he is facing a minimum now of 2 federal charges. The first one would be the FACE Act, and the second one would actually come from the Ku Klux Klan Act of 1871. So that's why Don Lemon is changing his tune. That's why he's panicked and trying to get out there and, build up this narrative among his allies, whatever few allies he has left. But unfortunately for him, he did stream this live, and he actually started streaming before the protesters raided this church, and he dropped a few words that really gave us insight into his role in this whole ordeal.
They're getting the operation together. Again, this is an operation that is secret, that they invited folks out. Can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to watch it live unfold here on the Don Lemon Show.
Can't tell you what's going to happen, but you're going to watch it unfold live. Does that not suggest that he knows exactly what's coming? If he can't tell you, that means he's keeping it a secret. And keep in mind, like I said in my previous video, he flew in to Minnesota that morning. He took a red-eye flight just hours before they raided this church. So why would he cross state lines? And cross state lines is a key word because that'll come to play later in the video and potentially in these federal charges. But why would he cross state lines to come here unless he knew something big was going to happen? And the promise of big, that's a vague, nebulous word, right? It's hard to imagine that he didn't know exactly what was going to go down to jump on a flight that early in the morning to get to St. Paul.
There are for this reason it may look like MAGA coded, but there's a reason they have so many white people here. I'm just going to be honest. It's because of the operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as they said, white allies here. So that is what I could say. I turned our camera off of them because they're giving some critical information here. Thank you guys for allowing me to be here.
Okay,
Thank you guys.
Okay.
How are you? Good to see you. We're on. We're not saying what it is, what's going on, but thank you.
So he kissed the organizer of this event, and he is talking, we, as in the group, we're not saying what's going on, we're not, does that not suggest that you being Don Lemon, are not operating as an independent third party, as an actual journalist just covering what's happening? No, you're seemingly plugged in, you know what's happening, you clearly have some sort of relationship with this woman. By the way, she is not the smartest person in the world because she posted this on Facebook. She was bragging about the raid of the church, and guess what? She started tagging everyone who was involved, and she pinned this to the top of her Facebook profile. So hello, Harmeet Dillon and Pam Bondi, here is your list right here. And as you can see, Don Lemon is the second person listed and tagged, so he got a primetime spot. He definitely got that special treatment because he's oh so plugged into this group. Unfortunately for Don, though, his live stream is coming back to haunt him because not only did he engage with the worshipers and the pastor, but he also started defending the terrible actions and the consequences of what these disturbers were doing.
Watch this guy here. Look, he's hugging his kid. And You know, I imagine it's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here, but again, careful, it's very slippery right here. Yeah. It's uncomfortable and traumatic for the people here, but that's what really, careful, please, really slippery, not kidding. That's what protesting is about, and so.
Protesting is about making people uncomfortable. Protesting is about scaring them and making kids cry. You know, when he was talking to Jennifer Welch, he was talking about the white supremacy of Christians, right? And the how it's white privilege that allows people to worship in churches. Well, one of the screenshots, one of the moments that is going viral in this whole situation is this moment right here where a father is comforting his son. And I don't know about you, but to me, they very clearly look Asian. The wife or the sister is Asian. The son obviously does not pass as European or traditional Caucasian, however you want to classify it. And look, I don't try to make things about race often on my channel, but when you watch the videos earlier, it was very clear that this was a diverse church. They are welcoming. And of course, it's going to be a majority of white people, not because they're racist, but when the majority population of any given area is one specific race, that's going to be the majority of people there. If you went to a church, I'm assuming you are white if you're watching my video. I know not everyone is. I have a lot of Filipinos, black viewers, Indian. I know I have a diverse audience, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, if you're a liberal, because believe it or not, I do get liberals watching my videos, and you go to China, you are probably going to be the only white person, assuming you can find a Christian church over there. You're going to be the only white person in that church over there. And it's not because they're being racist against you. No, it's just because you are now the minority in that country. So what he was saying doesn't even make any sense. And then the moment that is really resonating with a lot of people is the father comforting his son. And if it really was white supremacists, if the conservative Republican movement was really dominated and the prime focus was, white power and white supremacy, why would that image be resonating so much when they're not white? Just food for thought, Don Lemon, and any of my liberal watchers. Well, like I said earlier, Don is now facing the threat of at least 2 different types of federal charges. The first one is the FACE Act. Catherine Hamilton reports the FACE Act is a 1994 law that prohibits the use or threat of force and physical obstruction that injures, intimidates, or interferes with a person seeking to obtain or provide reproductive health services or to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship. The act was written to equally protect abortion clinics, pro-life pregnancy resource centers, and churches. However, data indicates 97% of FACE Act cases since the law's inception have been against pro-life activists. And one of the most famous cases, obviously, was during the Joe Biden administration. These 2 women are Jean Marshall and Joan Bell. They were sitting outside an abortion clinic, and they were charged with the FACE Act. So just talk about terrible. What happened in St. Paul, what happened in that church is so much more destructive, so much more disgusting than what those 2 women were doing. They were peacefully protesting. They weren't trying to terrorize. They weren't trying to scare. They didn't storm the abortion clinic. They were just standing and sitting outside. Compare that to what happened in St. Paul. There is no comparison here. And Harmeet Dillon herself, the Assistant Attorney General to Pam Bondi, is confirming that all of these and much more are under consideration.
The Attorney General has been on this from the moment it happened. There are already 2 prosecutors from my office on their way to Minneapolis, and they'll be there this morning. We have an FBI team assembled and local prosecutors as well. This is going to get the highest attention from the Department of Justice because there is no more sacred right in our Constitution than the right to assemble and pray to God. And there are federal laws that protect that right. And what happened here was a shameful exercise of virtue signaling, disruption, fear, terror. You can see children in this video being ushered out the back by their terrorized mothers. And this is illegal. And I want to add that the Biden administration prosecuted people peacefully praying outside abortion clinics for much, much less.
But it's not just the FACE Act, it's also the KKK Act of 1871. That news was broken by Harmeet Dillon on Benny Johnson's show here on YouTube. So that is huge. I mean, it's amazing how big YouTube has become. The fact that so much news breaks here versus on cable news really tells you how much the paradigm has shifted. But before we get to that, I would like to acknowledge the members of today's Governor's Club. They are RL1401. That is Bob. Thank you so much. Very generous and gracious of you. Jeremy 2000 Happy times 2. Jen Monero ×2, and Bunnyette Ralph. These are people who give tips and super thanks to the channel. But here is Harmeet Dillon explaining more about what the KKK Act is. And when you consider that religious freedom, our ability to worship and practice any faith, any religion freely in this country is one of our core civil liberties, well, it's clear how that act could be applied here.
Yeah, the Klan Act is one of the most important federal civil rights statutes, and it goes back to the time when President Lincoln emancipated the slaves, and yet the southern states, Dixiecrats mainly, were refusing to give them equal rights. And in fact, that you had sheriffs and you had law enforcement harassing the newly freed slaves. So the Klan Act is a law that makes it illegal to terrorize citizens, to violate their civil rights, to get together and conspire to violate the civil rights. It is often used against law enforcement, but is now used against others as well. So whenever anyone conspires to violate the protected civil rights of American citizens, the Klan Act can be used to bring a conspiracy charge. We, in the federal law enforcement parlance, call this 241 and 242 civil.
Now, I don't know about you, but over the last year, I've become very disillusioned with Pam Bondi. I know that's going to upset a lot of people. I know there are some people out there who say, trust the plan, or I trust Pam Bondi, or I trust President Trump, and therefore I trust Pam. But I know that there are a lot of people also like me who feel like she's not doing a lot. It's like there's so much to go after, so much corruption. What in the world is the DOJ and the FBI doing? And I know it takes a while to build cases, but it's just frustrating is what I'm saying. And so I think what I'm excited about in all of this is I think this is an opportunity for Pam Bondi, for Kash Patel to reclaim their reputation, to reclaim the mantle of justice and liberty and everything that we hold dear. If there was a time to act, it's now. So I hope my misgivings about Pam Bondi, I hope that she's able to turn that into water beneath the bridge, and that, we turn a page here and that we see strong, decisive action from the DOJ, from the FBI, into investigating all of these cases that are happening. And in fact, these leftist agitators, you can tell they feel confident that nothing's going to happen, because the woke farmer, if you watch my last video, you saw the guy, with his cell phone really trying to antagonize and debate everyone. Well, he now posted a message. Just talk about how brazen the disrespect, the hate, how brazen all of this is. And you would only do this if you felt confident that the DOJ was going to do nothing, unless you're a crazy person, which he could be.
Yesterday, I went into a church with Nakima Armstrong and I protested these white supremacists. A pastor of the church is a ICE leader in the city. How can you be a pastor and be a ICE agent? They want to come after me? How can they live so comfortably while the people from Somalia that are in this country legally, that have citizenship, can't even go to their mosque and pray? How do they deserve any different? Those Nazis. Come and get me, Pam Bondi, you traitorous bitch. All power to the people.
He wants to talk about white supremacy, and he kind of sounds like a supremacist of, I don't know what sort he is. The crazy kind. Like I said earlier, and as you saw, the father comforting the boy, and you take a look at the videos of a diverse church. So what's he saying? Asians, black people, Indians, Hispanics are white supremacists? Someone make this make sense to me, please. Now, even though that guy obviously has some lame balls, I don't know what's going on with his mental state. You can tell Don Lemon is starting to actually panic, actually get worried about this. Not only did he appear on Jennifer Welch's show and really try to defend himself and paint himself as the victim. I don't know how I became the face of all of this when he was one of the primary instigators here, but he actually started throwing the organizers of this protest under the bus. So that tells you he's actually worried something's going to go down against him.
MAGA administration and the fake news MAGAs are losing their mind over something that's not even true. So let me just make it clear, because this Attorney General, I don't know, gosh, what's her name? It's something Hammett, Dillon or whatever.
He calls himself a journalist, and he doesn't even know the name of the Assistant Attorney General of the United States. Huh, Rich.
Even though they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests. Once the protest started in the church, we did an act of journalism, which was report on it and talk to the people who were involved, which included the pastor, members of the church, and members of the organization. That's it. It's called journalism. First Amendment, all that stuff. For all of you people who believe in the First Amendment, absolutist, there you go. So why don't you talk to the actual person who is in charge of the organization and whose idea it was to have the protests at the church before you start blaming me for stuff for which you have no idea.
Well, it's not just that, though, because he claims he's just chronicling the whole thing. But in the age of social media, this gives permission for copycat attacks like this to happen, copycat raids, not just at churches, but what happens if it happens at schools? And here you can tell he's, this clip has gone viral, so everyone's seen it, and I played it in my last video. You know, he's debating the pastor. He's not just talking to the pastor, he is actively trying to shame him. Don Lemon clearly came into this with a point of view, which, again, if you are actually trying to do objective journalism, you're just covering what's happening instead of, assuming a singular premise and then making all of your coverage revolve around it. As always, though, all of this is just my analysis and commentary. I don't claim to be a journalist. I never have. I've been very clear about that on the channel, and I don't claim to be an activist either. My lane that I'm trying to carve out for myself is to provide commentary, provide insights, or different perspectives on what's happening in the world. And so based on all of that, I would like to hear one of your perspectives here. So far, there's been a lot of talk about the FACE Act, the KKK Act of 1871. Well, are there other statutes? Are there other acts or laws that can be used against the protesters, the disruptors in this case? If there are, let us know down in the comments below. And if you see it, be sure to thumbs it up so that way other people who like reading the comments, I think it's a lot of fun personally, can learn something and maybe be exposed to another point of view. If you haven't already, please be sure to leave me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. Be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.